Hey all of you, hope you guys are great. So in the last video we have learned that how we can transfer the fund from one account to other without involvement of the smart contract. In this video we're going to actually connect the smart contract with the frontend application, and we're going to do the transaction and store the data in the smart contract. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Here I have opened the project where we left in the last video, so make sure you do that. Now let's start working on it. Let me simply uncomment this contract. Okay, so we can utilize this. Let's come down here, and here we're going to take a variable. So the variable I will call transaction. Okay, and here I'm going to call the contract. So we have the contract, and this data will come from here. So if I come back to the smart contract, so this is the function which we have to call and pass all this data: address, amount, and message. Okay, so that's the three thing we have to pass. So let's come here, and here we have to define the address, we have to define the unformatted price which we have formatted above. Okay, and here we're going to provide the message. So these are the three data we need to pass here. You can see these all data we have in it. Now what we can do, we'll come down and we're going to simply set this loading. Okay, because you know that when you do the transaction on Ethereum blockchain, the transaction timing is really slow. Okay, so in 1 second you can do only 5 to 6 transactions, so we have to wait. Okay, and display this loader so user can know that okay, the transaction is happening at the background. Okay, so we have to set it true, and here we're going to call this transaction dot wait. So we have to wait till the transaction get completed, written on the blockchain, and here we're going to turn it to false. Okay, we have to remove our loader. So this is what we have, and now we're going to call this one transaction count. Okay, so we need to get the transaction, that how many transactions happen. We're keeping the track of that. So we'll call the contract, and here you can see here we have this function get transaction count, which will give us the total number of transactions happen. Okay, so simply copy this, and that's what we're going to call it. And once we have the data, we're going to simply set the transaction count, which we have already taken on above, and here we're going to take this transaction count and we're going to convert into a number, because it will come in the form of big number. Okay, so hope things are making sense. I'm going a little faster here. So that's the transaction count, and everything is looking good. And that's the entire function we have to write, transfer ether. Okay, so this is what we have here. So we are done with this function, and now we're going to create one more function which allow us to fetch all the information from the smart contract, like all the transaction data, address, amount, and messages. Okay, so we have function in our smart contract, we're going to call it. So let's come here. I'm going to take a variable, comment fetch all transaction, and I'll take a variable called get all transaction. It's going to be an async function because we are dealing with promises, try and catch, and we're going to catch an error. Okay, so same convention we are following here, and now we're going to call the contract. But before we call the contract, we have to check for the Ethereum object. Okay, the reason why we are checking for the Ethereum object, because if you want to fetch any information from the smart contract, first you have to connect your wallet. Okay, then you can able to call any kind of function, otherwise it will throw an error. Okay, because we're going to talk about one particular error is happening in our application, and many of you are posting that error in the Discord server or in my mail. So I have a dedicated video for that which will come right after this. In that we're going to talk about that how you can resolve that problem, and why it's important that you have to check for account Ethereum object before you call any smart contract function. Okay, so we'll talk about that, okay, in the next video. So here I'm going to check for the Ethereum object. If we have the Ethereum object, means we have the MetaMask and the user are connected with the wallet. Okay, so here we're going to call this const, and we're going to call the contract. We'll take our contract. So what is the name we have given to our contract? So where it is, let's come up here. So not this one. So this is the contract name, connect to transfer fund. So this is our contract which allows to connect with the contract, and now we're going to utilize it. So what I can do, I'll take another variable, I'll call available transaction. So here we're going to take all the transaction. Okay, so it's gonna be a wait, we have to call the contract, and we have to call the function. So what is the name of the function? Get all transaction. This will return an array. So we got the data, and now we have to simply format the entire data. Okay, and the data is available in this available transaction. Okay, so now we're going to take another variable and we'll call read transaction, and we're going to format the document, format all the transaction data into a readable form so we can easily able to display in our application. So let's do that. So we have the data in this available transaction, and we're going to map over it, and we're going to call it transaction, which is stand for individual transaction. It's going to be an async function, and here we're going to do a couple of things. So first thing we have to do is we have to take the address, which is inside this transaction receiver, the one who's sending the address to. Okay, now we have to take the another address. This is from which account we are sending. This is a sender, sorry. We have this variable in our smart contract. Now we have to take this list timestamp. Okay, so every transaction will have its own timestamp, and that's also we are getting from the smart contract. So we have this data, new date, because we want to convert this. So we have to convert this timestamp into a readable date. Okay, so that's why we are using this new date, and in that we go to pass the timestamp, and we have to convert this to a number so it can easily able to read. Okay, and here we go to multiply with the 1000 so we can have the proper time, and we have to convert it to local string. Okay, nothing complicated, it's a simple JavaScript. And what we can do here, come here, and we're getting this error. No. Okay, so the problem we having, let's say, let's come here. We have to wrap this in a bracket from here to here. Okay, and the one change we have to do is right here in the Ethereum, provide this bracket. Okay, and we have to remove this one, and now things are looking good. All the error is gone, so all the functions are working fine. We have the data, and now we have to take more data from our contract. So we're going to take the message which is inside the transaction message, and now we have to take the amount. Okay, that how many ether that person has transferred. So okay, and now we have to convert that into a number, so amount, and we have the data in this hacks. Okay, it will come in the form of big number, and in that we have this variable /hacks. In that we have the data. Okay, and now we're going to simply divide it by 10 and multiply by with 18, because it will come in the form of way, so we have to convert into ether. Okay, so nothing complicated, very simple logic, and that's the data we have. Will come down, and now we have to simply set the data into our transaction. Okay, so we have the data name called read transaction, and all the data would be available in the transaction use state. Okay, it's an array. So that's looking fine. Now we're going to simply copy this transaction, and that's what we're going to pass it here, transaction count, and we have to simply pass this transaction all the data, and that's what we're going to pass here. So things are simple, very easy. I hope nothing's complicated. And now we have to take this function, and that's also we have to pass, so we can receive that function into a transfer fund page. Okay, so that's all the thing we need to do here. Things are looking good, no problem we have here. And here we have to take this else block. So if there is no Ethereum object, we can say something like on Ethereum, just like you can display whatever you want. I just going with this on Ethereum. Okay, so that's the message I want to display here. So that's the get all transfer function. That's looking fine. Now let's come here. We're going to simply copy this transaction, and that's what we're going to receive here in this transfer fund page. Okay, so here we're going to receive that. That's looking good, and we're going to comment out this, the demo one, and that's happening. Everything's will happen properly. Okay, so what we have to do is let's come down here, and here we have to change all this data. Okay, so right now we have the data, so we're going to replace this one. So we'll remove this, and I'll say element I+1, because every transaction will have a unique ID. So this ID you can generate in the smart contract, but I don't want to keep much data in my smart contract, otherwise I have to pay higher gas fee whenever I do any changes. Okay, so I believe that you guys know that whenever you do any transaction in the Ethereum blockchain or write anything, you have to pay gas fee for that, and that gas fee is defined whatever state variable you will use in that contract. If you have too many state variable, you have to pay higher gas fee. Okay, so I'll make a dedicated video that how you can minimize the gas fee, and what are the things you have to use to pay little amount for doing any transaction. Okay, so that's why I'm not displaying getting an ID from the contract. I'm just creating with this one. Okay, so we have the ID. Now we have to get the amount, so we have this element dot amount. So this is what we have, amount, copy and paste here. And now we have the address, simply remove, and we have to get the address from, simply copy and paste here. And now we have to get the address of the receiver, so simply get here and address to, copy and simply paste here. So these are the data we have, looking fine. And now I'm also going to display the timestamp. It's totally optional, but you can display. So we have the timestamp data here, and we're going to paste it here. So this is all the data, looking fine. And now let's try to test it out. Okay, so let's come here, and what I can do, I'll just open my MetaMask, and you can see this is the amount which I have in this account number 2. And here I have simply copy and paste the account number 3 in which I have to do the transfer. So simply copy this one. Okay, and now let's come back and let's do the testing. So simply paste here, and here we're going to simply paste the 1000 ether, and here I'm going to pass this message. Okay, so just hey my boy. Okay, click on this, and here you can see the transaction is this, and everything's looking fine. Now if I click on the transaction, so the transaction went successful, but here we got the error in our smart contract. Something went wrong while connecting with smart contract. So this is this error we are getting from the smart contract, and the second error we are getting from the add to blockchain function, which says that cannot read properties of undefined. So this is the 2 error we have, actually 1 error. Well, let's see why we are not able to connect with the smart contract. Okay, so what we can do, let's come back to the code, and I found a problem. So I stuck for a while, and I found that I did a very silly mistakes. Okay, and the reason why I'm not cutting this all, because while doing the development, you guys will come across this kind of situations. No one is perfect, everyone makes mistake. Okay, so this is the get all for transaction function. We don't have any issues in here. Now we have to come up here, and here I forgot to import the ABI and the address of the transfer fund, and because of that we were getting the error. So now let's quickly import that transfer fund address here, and we have to import the ABI as well. So this is the ABI we have, simply copy and simply paste here. So this is the ABI and the transfer address function. So now will not have any kind of error. Okay, so that's the one thing we have to fix. And let me close all this open function, and we have to do a couple of more fix. Okay, so that's the one we have, and simply close this one and simply copy these functions, close this one, and here you can see we are already passing this function here, but here in our transfer fund we are not calling the functions. Actually we are not receiving the functions, and then we're not able to receive the data. Okay, so what we have to do is to simply call the function here, receive the function first, and now we're going to call this function. So every time the page will reload, this function will get triggered. Okay, so we're going to use this use effect, and in that we're going to call this function empty array. Okay, so you can do go with this. Okay, so this is how we are calling the function, and now we have the data. And the one more thing we have to do is, you can see we have all this transaction, and here now it will render successfully, and now we have to take this read message. Okay, so we have to display the message as well. Simply scroll all the way down, and here we have this hardcode value we're going to remove, and we're going to pass the actual message, read message. Okay, so things are looking good. Make sure you do all these changes, and right now you can see this is the balance I have, 852926, sorry. And here you can see I already did a couple of tests, and here we have got the result. And now let me show you how it works. So first thing, we have to get the address, come back and simply paste here account number 3, and here I'm going to transfer the amount, let's say 600, and here I'm going to simply copy this and text message, and I'm going to paste it here and call this function. Here we have the MetaMask, just wait, and here you can see we had got all the data, estimated gas. Click on confirm, and here we have the second confirmations. So here you have to confirm it if you want to write this transaction in the blockchain. Okay, so that's why we have this 2 authentication. Now the windows will reload. Okay, window will reload, and here you can see we got the data amount 600 and the address and all timestamp. It's working fine. And if you click on that, we are getting this hardcode message, but we have to fix this one. So let's come up here, and where we are setting up the message, so here we have this hardcode message, but we need the actual message, so which is inside this element dot message. Okay, save it, and that would be great. So let's come here, and here you can see if you click on this, here we got all the messages. Okay, if you click on this, we got the messages. So this is the also working fine. So that's looking great. Now let's do test one more time. Simply paste here, and we're going to type the amount, this time 1000 ether. Simply copy this and paste here and do the transaction. And I'm not cutting this part, because you can see I'm also getting this error, and this is a very common error you will have, and this is nothing with your code. Okay, this happening because of the MetaMask. They are failed to calculate the estimated time for the transaction. So I'm not cutting this portion. I want to show you that this error is happening and I'm also facing this. Okay, so simply reject this and let's try to call this function one more time. Okay, so here you can see right now I got another error, and this time we failed to estimate the gas fee. Okay, so last time was the processing and this is the fail to estimate the gas fee, and this is the one error, two error, the second error we are getting here. So okay, so this is the two error. Now simply reject this one and reload the browser and try to refill the entire data and try one more time. So I have this, I will try to transfer 1000 ether and I will simply copy this address and I will paste here. I'll copy, make the request, and here you can see this time is also having the same issue. I don't know why. So this is the, again simply reject this one and click one more time, and this time it went through. Okay, you can see right now we have the confirmation, all the data, that the amount we want to transfer, gas fees and transaction time. We can simply confirm this and we can come here. This is the second authentication we have to do to write the data in the contract, and you can see we can simply come here and we can click on confirm, and here the browser will load. Okay, so I'll show you how to reload the browser as well. So here you can see we got the data, the amount got detected 1000, it was 7, now it's 6, and if we come here you can see we have transferred 1000 ether to the third account. If you click on this, this is the message we have provided. So things are looking good. I hope that whatever error are coming, I'm not cutting it out. I just want to show you that these errors are happening while development and what you have to do. Okay, so things are looking good. What we have to do is let's come back here, and if you come back to this transfer ether, here I have called this function. So once the transaction get completed, I want to reload the browser, so I have added this code window.location.reload. Okay, so this could be solve your problem. Okay, reload the browser after the transaction. So things are looking good. Now simply close all these open tab and we are almost done with this. So now simply close all this folder and we're going to do this final test. Okay, things are looking good. Now let's do this and let's come here, simply open the MetaMask, and we have to copy this account number 2 because right now we're going to transfer some fund from account 3rd to account 2. Okay, so that's why I copy it. Now let's come here and let's go to the account number 3, and right now you can see all the amount we have transferred, it's there, and we have to reset the account to, you can see all the amount we have 13073. I know it's a fake ether, but what if we had a real ether in that quantity? You would be billionaire. Okay, sorry, millionaire. Now we have to do this advanced reset, and now we are ready to go with this. Okay, reload the browser and now let's test this out. So right now you can see the balance we have in this account is 13073, and now we're going to simply paste the address account number 2, and we want to transfer, let's say 6000 ether. Simply copy this and simply paste here, and here we can see we have the confirmation. We just make it confirm and simply we have to do this confirm again, and here it's working fine. You can see finally we have transferred 5000 ether to the account number 3, and you can see the detail of that. Okay, but here we have to do a couple of things. Let's come back to the transfer, and I don't want to display the entire address. Okay, I want to slice it down. Okay, so I'm going to use this slice method and I'll make it to 1 to 20 and simply copy and do the same thing for the true address. Okay, simply refresh the browser and you can see that's how it will look, looking perfect. Okay, just reduce this from 1 to 15. Okay, let's make it to 15. So that's looking good. Okay, this looking good. All the functionality is working fine. You can design the way you want. Okay, so that's look pretty good. Now the address, timestamp, amount, from, to, and if you click on that you will get all the messages. That's looking fine. Okay, so I believe you guys have understood that how it's work, and make sure to join the Discord server if you have any kind of error in your code, and if you want to get the starter file, all the codes, that's all provided in this Discord server. So make sure to join and ask your query if you face any kind of problems. Okay, so here we have members and all the codes is provided to you guys here, and this is a very common problem you guys are facing, and many of you guys have posted this in the Discord and in my email. So I'm going to make a dedicated video for this, and I want to tell you that why it's happening. Okay, because being a developer, it's not always that you have to write code. You have to think that why the errors are happening, and this is a very small error is in our code, and I believe that many of you have solved this problem. But for those of you who haven't solved this problem, I'm going to make the dedicated video and I will tell you that why it's happening, and how you have to think because thinking is very important. Being, if you want to be a good developer, it's all about thinking. Anybody can write code, anybody can build products, but thinking is very important. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video, where we're going to fix this issue. So that's the only thing I want to cover in this video. So we have done the first part, where we have transferred the fund without involvement of the smart contract. In the second part, we have used the smart contract for transacting the fund. In the third part, okay, in that part, I'm going to tell you all the methods which are available in the smart contract for doing the transaction, okay, and which one you should pick for the security reason and for saving gas fee. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. So hope you guys have found this video valuable. If you have still any confusion, do let me know in the comment section. I would love to help you in that. So see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.